From the beginning of planning this trip, hiking a slot canyon was high on my list of priorities. This 28-minute video captures our walk through the slot canyons of Willis Creek. To begin the hike, you go down the creek bed, which is fairly flat. You will notice that the creek is very low, but if you look at the creek bed, you can see that it can become a raging river. They advise no hiking when there is imminent heavy rain, as this becomes a flash flood area. This 28-minute video captures the hike that my trusty companion there, Jim Hargreaves, and I made down through 5 of the slots that are on this trail. Even though you see high walls here of lining the creek bed, these are not yet what are classified as slot canyons. The black that you see on the walls is actually a live growth that dies and hardens and caps many of these walls. This is the entrance to the first and the smallest of the slot canyons. One of the things that you will notice as you go through this video is there are trees such as the one on the left growing right on top of the rocks. If you watch carefully or you go to the slideshow on our website, you will see where we photographed roots that have actually grown down through the rocks and into the creek bed. Walking in the creek bed is not quite as easy as it looks. There's actually a layer of fine rock and your foot sinks into it. Sometimes you gotta remember that you're walking on rocks. And this is the entrance into the first of the bigger canyons. It lies ahead around that corner. As we enter the first of the larger slot canyons, note the stratification of the rock. It's kind of odd to me that the rock doesn't wear smooth through these canyons, although some places it is smoother than the others. But you can imagine the narrowness here. It's about probably a 5 to 6 foot opening right here. That how fast the water is going when it's channeled down from that broader creek bed into this very narrow creek bed. If you're going to make this hike, you can see that you either need waterproof boots or be very willing to get your feet wet. No matter how you go down through this, at some point you have to walk in the water. As we leave this slot, headed for the next slot, we open into another one of the wide creek beds. And take a minute to notice the growth of trees and vegetation that survive the big torrent of water that has to come down here when they have the flash floods. The guy with the GoPro seems to have to stop periodically when Jim decides he's going to get his trusty iPhone out and take pictures. In the slideshow on the website, there's a picture of this tree and the root system on it that reaches down into the creek bed. We will speed this up. I am not actually running to get to the most interesting parts. I don't know how well the video will show this, but notice the dark yellow rock base under what looks like just piles of gravel. Matter of fact, I went over and I could just pick little pieces of rock off of there. I'm wondering if that isn't what actually is how this canyon was formed initially, was that this looser rock was easily washed away. Hope you catch a glimpse of that orange rock there. First I thought somebody spray painted that on there, but again, I'm going to speed this up a bit. But you see, we stop frequently because there's so many things that catch your eye and cause you to wonder, hey, how did that happen, or why did that happen? There again, you see that yellow foundation under the rock ledge. We're about to come to a place where the actual creek bed drops down about 6 feet. Not having hiked this before, we were a little bit perplexed as to how you get by this. I had seen in one video that I watched of this hike that actually crab walked down the sides of the wall, and we ain't doing that. We eventually decided to try the ledge on the left, which we made, not realizing that over on the other side here was a much easier route down. When we came back the next day, we were smarter. We went the easier route. But that ledge proved to be a little bit more than we had expected. I don't think the video shows just how steep that ledge is. It would become more evident on the way back when I actually had to sit down and scoot my butt across it because I couldn't get a good enough grip with my right leg to brace me going down. But once we were through this section, it was just a matter of a trail and a slight down path that took us right back down to the bottom. This shows that drop down from the bottom. And again, you have to use your imagination to imagine what this waterfall must look like when it is in the heavy rain and this is in flash flood condition. Again, I don't see any way that Jim or I could have gotten down that with coming straight down there. This area was interesting because you'll notice there's a deposit of some very large rocks here. Whether they actually broke off from the side canyons and rolled down here, I don't think so. I think this was deposited by water when you look at the helter-skelter arrangement of the rocks. And this was really the only place we saw these big rocks being deposited in the bottom of the canyon. We saw one or two big rocks at various places, but not a collection of them like this. One conjecture on the part of these big rocks was that when the water came over that waterfall, the pool was deep and they dropped to the bottom. And as you can see here, we're walking into one of the larger slot canyons when we make the left turn at the end of here. picking your way over some of these bigger rocks is a pretty good challenge at times, and you got to be really careful with your footing. I can see where it would be very, very easy to twist an ankle or even break an ankle here. Unfortunately, we're going to run out of battery here before we get to the fifth and final slot on this trail. That slot has the largest standing wall of the slots, and if you go to our website, secondtimearound.net, you can see a lot of the pictures. By the time we get all the pictures up and in place, there'll probably be close to 50 shots that Diane and I took. We came back the next day so that Diane could experience this hike for Jim and I in and back was 3.3 miles with an altitude gain of only 128 feet, which was a bit surprising to me because going back, it seemed like it was a lot higher than that. But I hope if you ever have a chance to do this, that you do, because it's a geological wonder, and I know that no video or photos that we post will give you the true magnificence of this site. There is one of the roots that has grown down from a tree up above all the way down through the rock into the creek bed.